Giving all glory and honor and praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakar Kadash. Double honor to the elder apostles of Great Millstone who rule well, teaching this 100% truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect, beginning with the 144,000 and the rest of the men, women, and children. I'm your brother Magun Shalamar. Title of this video is America and so-called white man Esau Edom is the basis of all men. We're going to go right into this video. Fair use, fair use. This is not for monetary gain, but for education purpose only.
Peacekeepers, Israel denied the claim. The U.S. federal government shutdown has entered its 27th day. Funding for food assistance programs used by over 40 million people will run out on Saturday. Democratic lawmakers have criticized the Trump administration for refusing to draw on a contingency fund to continue funding SNAP and WIC benefits. Meanwhile, President Trump has said military troops will keep getting paid in part due to a $130 million private donation. The New York Times has revealed the donor to be the reclusive right-wing billionaire Timothy Mellon. Budget experts say using a private donation to pay troops would violate federal law. Meanwhile, Democratic Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut appeared on CNN Sunday and said Trump is using the shutdown to expand his power.
He likes the fact that the government is closed because he thinks he can exercise king-like powers. He can open up the parts of the government that he wants. He can pay the employees who are loyal to him. I mean, this is a leader who is trying to transition our government from a democracy to something much closer to a totalitarian state.
And see, this is the quote from one of the small hats, Rothschild's top banker family, what he said about if you allow him to have the control over the currency of a nation's currency, he care less who write the laws. This is from Bartleby Research, Mayor Amsco Rothschild, the founding father of the United States. It says, he quote, "Give me control of a nation's money and I care not who makes the laws." Mayor Amsco Rothschild, patriarch of the Rothschild banking dynasty. As you see that, Slovakia, that the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, the Murdochs, these are the just some of the top elites are the ones who's behind the scenes that's running this world, man. And they care less who make the laws, and that's what you're seeing now. Trump can do pretty much whatever he want to do, because why? He's issuing in, we believe that he's issuing in the New World Order, crashing the dollar. Going to be the one who's going to bring in this digital micro C hit, low oil. It says, this quote illustrates where the real power lies. It is also something that the founding fathers of the United States, many world leaders over the years understood. Thomas Jefferson, quote, is the best example of the forefathers knowing the dangers of giving the power to print money to private bankers. He states, "I believe that banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies. If the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their currency, first by inflation, then by deflation, the banking corporations that will grow up around will deprive the people of all properties until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. The issue power should be taken such and so forth." It says that an international banking cartel led largely by the House Rothschilds has taken control of virtually every country's money supply and inflated and installed in fiat currency that they own. This process is not a fast one. It is not measured in months, years, and decades, but instead by generations, right? Because like the prophets and the elders of Great Millstone always bring out, that this new world order was put in place generations ago. You know, this has been their plan. And it just increased now much as the increase of today's technology, that plan is still in place, and they still pushing towards that. They never deviated from that New World Order, making the control of all people. Taking control of all people. It says that modern day Rothschilds lead banking cartels likes to keep a low profile. Although this is not always the case, Nathan Rothschild, one of Mayor Amsco's 5 sons sent throughout Europe to install their family's banking empire, was quite brash and did not shy away from letting everyone know who had the power. Right, because now they got all the money. Now they just want the control over all people. And that's what Revelation 13 is all about, bringing out that New World Order, which we know to be the micro C hip, put in the right hand and foreheads of all the people on this earth to control them, to have them as their slaves, right? So that's the mark of the beast that we know that only the elect is not going to get. Go to the book of Daniel, chapter 4, verse 17. It says, "This matters by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High Yahweh ruleth in the kingdoms of men, and giveth it whomever he will, and set up over it the basis of men." And that's what he's done. He put Esau, Edom, so-called white man, in charge of this earth. And he the basis of all men. But see, they forget to realize that they didn't do it on their own. The Lord set them up. These are the same ones that came out of the mountains braying like a donkey, like animals, huddled together, couldn't even speak words. The Lord put them in charge of this earth, man. This is Job chapter 30 and verse 7. It says, matter of fact, I'm just going to go right to them. We're going to start with verse 5. It says, "They are driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief," right? Because that's what they done. Because when they was driven back into those mountains, they lost their privilege to speak. They couldn't even speak words. They was only communicated through the making sounds like an animal. And every time when we saw them, when they come around the Israelites, we beat them back, like, "Get out of here," like you shooing away a wild animal. And it said, "They was driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief, to dwell in the cliffs of the valley, in the caves of the earth, and in the rocks. And among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together." Right. And that's how they huddle together. Because when you're prey, animals of prey huddle together. In order to keep the numbers safe, they huddle together. And it says, "Among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together." They was the children of fools, children of base men. They was violent than the earth, and that's who so-called white man is. They're the basis of all nations. Of all men on the earth, they the lowest, And this is who Yahweh was saying, this is who he set up. He set up them to be in charge. The basis of all men is in charge of this earth, the wicked. This is Ezekiel chapter 29, and I'm going to read this in the NLT. Verse 14, it says, "I will restore the prosperity of Egypt and bring it back to the land of Pathros in the southern." First, let me read that again. "I will restore the prosperity of Egypt and bring it back to the land of Pathros in the southern Egypt, from which they came." Right, because this is in the NLT it reads, so it's not talking about the first Egypt. It's talking about America. It says, I will bring again the captivity of Egypt, and will cause them to return into the land of Pathros, in the land of their habitation, and they shall be there a base kingdom." Right. So we see that that's again, he's going to bring back the captivity again. So spiritually, Egypt is talking about America. Shalaki. And it says, verse 15 in the LT, it will be the lowest of all the nations, neither again great enough to rise above its neighbors. Right. Then Israel will no longer be tempted to trust in Egypt for help. Egypt's shattered conditions will remind Israel of how sinful she was to trust Egypt in early days. Then Israel will know that I am the sovereign Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Right. So as you see that America is not going, when the Lord bring America down, even though it's was in power of the horde that sits on the back of the beast, Esau's losing his rulership of this earth every day. Because Yahweh Shah said he sees Satan fall like lightning. So this place ain't gonna never be as it was 10, 20 years ago, no matter what Trump does. No matter what type of laws he come up with and try to take over people's land down in Venezuela, it's never going to be as powerful as it once was. Because the Lord set these base men up to be brought down. He set Egypt up to be brought down. And that's why verse 16 said, then Israel will no longer be tempted to trust in Egypt for help. Because that's what, the so-called Negro, Latino, Native American Indians does. Esau had us to trust in him and ask for him for all wants, But the Lord is bringing this power of this white man, so-called white man, down, man. It says at the end, then Israel will know that I am the sovereign Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah, right? Because this place right here is going to go down, and it's going to be no more trust, That's why Micah chapter 2, verse 10, it says, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction. Right? So you continue to trust in this so-called white man government, looking for him to get the EBT cards back right, looking for him to get back the SNAP cards and everything, just because, he's purposely crashing this money system. He's doing it in a way that he's trying to make Jake more so dependent on him so he can issue in that new world order, crashing this dollar, going to that currency of the digital money currency. They're purposely doing that in order to issue that in. And we know that the end game is when he's going to bring in that micro C hip, and that's going to be the end game. That's going to be the final piece for him to do. And once he starts to eat, then the Lord is going to bring him down. Right. It says, this is Job chapter 20, verse 22. It says, in the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. Right. Because as soon as he brings that micro C hip in, and he starts to think he's going to sit and fill his belly, the Lord is going to use us. The wicked is meaning the laborers. Talking about the Israelites, going to be, and we upon him now. Like, that's why the men of the Lord write most songs on the highways and byways, bringing forth this truth. Verse 23 says, when he is about to fill his belly, Yahweh shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. And that's what's going to happen. They don't realize that's what's going to happen to them once they bring in that new world order with the micro C hip and these Rothschilds, Rockefellers, and DuPonts. the illuminated ones of this earth, the small hats. Guess what? That's when Yahweh Shai is going to return in the middle of that war, World War III, and destroy this place, destroy this man's kingdom. So with that, I hope you was edified. Call halal Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem Kah HaKadosh. Double honor to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, who were well teaching us 100% truth. Shalom, Abba, Baba.